Furious world leaders are doing what Donald Trump feared, as Donald Trump remains frozen, indecisive, weak, and pathetic, and he says he's going to continue the naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, but not take any other action. World leaders are like, enough of this. We are making bilateral deals with Iran, and if Donald Trump continues to betray us the way he is, as Thailand has decided, we're going to make deals directly with American adversaries, and we're going to no longer consider ourselves traditional long-term allies of the United States. I mean, of course, you're seeing in Canada the F-35 review and a review of other American military weapon procurement. Of course, in Europe, we're seeing the various countries there build up their militaries, move away from the United States. America first means America alone, and we're seeing strategies pay off. For example, Japan cutting a direct deal with Iran in order to move through the Strait of Hormuz and to bring crude oil to Japan. And apparently a Japanese aligned tanker, I believe it was Panamanian flagged, was able to transit through the Strait of Hormuz and make it out. Did you see what happened yesterday? This is big news, folks. And again, it shows that Japan negotiating on a bilateral basis directly with Iran, and they're saying, whatever, your blockade doesn't matter, Donald. We're doing what we got to do. And I think that's what we're going to see more countries do. I mean, we heard French President Emmanuel Macron say he's going to be speaking directly with Pezeshkian, the president of Iran. We're going to be seeing a lot more of this as Trump just does nothing and hopes like a miracle it's all going to go away. So this Japanese-linked super tanker carrying roughly 2 million barrels of Saudi crude oil transiting through the Strait of Hormuz outbound. Bloomberg's Javier Blas was the first to report. The vessel is following Iran's newly designated shipping lanes. The move is being watched as a potential diplomatic signal drop site explains, as it would represent Iran allowing passage of Gulf oil despite the U.S. naval blockade on Iran's ports. As Javier Blas from Bloomberg writes, interesting movement in the Strait of Hormuz. A supertanker linked to Japan is entering the Strait of Hormuz on her way out of the Persian Gulf. It's called the Idemitsu Maru, and it's following the Iranian new shipping lane that goes right by the Iranian coast, so the Islamic Revolutionary Guard can control it. It was carrying over 2 million barrels of Saudi oil, and if you want to know, was this negotiated with Iran? All signals are it absolutely was, because Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi reposted this a not so cryptic message from the Iran in Japan embassy account. You know how Iran has all of those embassy accounts that make those social media posts often trolling the Trump regime? Iran and Japan posted the historic 1953 mission of the Nishu Maru, owned by Idemitsu Kosan, to transport Iranian oil to Japan, stands as a testament to the long-standing friendship between the two countries. The legacy continues to hold great significance. So by talking about this 1953 mission, at the same time, the Idemitsu was making this trip, they're basically saying, this is what you got to do. Negotiate with us directly. Come up with a bilateral deal. The U.S. under the Trump regime is worthless at this point and will cut bilateral deals. Just kick out the United States from all of this. You don't need them, and they are a barrier and a liability. As Jeffrey J. Hall from Japan writes, the Iranian government has made it quite clear that the Idemitsu supertanker that passed through the Strait of Hormuz did so with their permission. The embassy shared a post celebrating how the Idemitsu ran a British blockade in 1953. And they're saying, just like you ran the British blockade in 1953, here you are in 2026 running the U.S. blockade. And so it seems like a bilateral negotiation there. I mentioned at the outset, Thailand, as the Washington Post reports, the Trump regime had not offered any direct help to Thailand, a longstanding U.S. treaty ally, as it struggles with wide-ranging economic damage from the American-Israeli war against Iran, Thailand's foreign minister told the Washington Post. And what Thailand announced is, we're going to Russia and we're going to China for help right now. Screw you, Trump regime. You screwed us over. We're suffering right now. We're getting help now from Russia and China. See you later, the United States. Thailand's foreign minister told the Washington Post Thailand is approaching Russia and China for economic assistance after receiving no help from the United States, even though the country has been a U.S. treaty ally since 1954. This war should never have taken place, Foreign Minister of Thailand says. Thailand is among the hardest hit Asian economies from the Strait of Hormuz closure. The country relies on gas for 66% of its electricity, with LNG, liquefied natural gas, accounting for 27% of its gas supply, 28% of which previously transited the strait. The cost of sourcing a spot LNG cargo has surged an estimated 125% since the conflict began, with prices jumping from $11 to $23.50 per million BTU, compounded by a 5.3% depreciation of the Thai baht, according to the Institute for Energy, Economic, and Financial Analysis. So I can go country by country with all this. I mean, at the same time, you have President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico, and she's done her best to try to appease Donald Trump. And what did she get? Donald Trump running secret military operations in Mexico. Donald Trump putting CIA agents in Mexico, which was recently uncovered when two CIA agents who were working covertly with other Mexican officials, and President Claudia Sheinbaum didn't know about this, apparently, were killed during a drug-related operation, purportedly. And it was uncovered that there's like American military and CIA significant presence in Mexico and significant breach of Mexican sovereignty. And Sheinbaum, who previously was standing up to Donald Trump, she early on, remember in the beginning of the Trump regime, she pulled back, and now she's under a lot of fire. Like, you can't let this maniac war criminal engage in this behavior. So she's under a lot of pressure right now, and she's calling out the Trump regime's threats. Another notable event that took place, I mean, obviously we've been covering King Charles' trip, King Charles speaking in front of a joint session of Congress, calling out the importance of NATO, calling out the importance of supporting Ukraine, calling out the importance of America speaking with moral clarity, and clearly stating or implying that Donald Trump has wrecked the word and trust in the United States. I mean, King Charles didn't use those specific words, but it was obvious what he was referencing, right? At the same time King Charles was there, you all know by now that Sir Christian Turner, the UK ambassador to the United States, who replaced Peter Mandelson, who was removed because of his Epstein connections, he was on a hot mic back in February where he said the U.S. actually doesn't have a special relationship with anyone other than Israel, and we should stop talking about special relationships between the United States and the UK because that doesn't exist at all. And he also said that it's extraordinary that Trump and people in his regime have not had to have any accountability really in the United States for their affiliations with Epstein, when in the UK you had Peter Mandelson and all of these people who were held accountable, and they're still being held accountable. And Keir Starmer, we'll see what happens in August, but Keir Starmer may not be the prime minister by the end of the summer, based on a lot of the pressure stemming from the Epstein files. And Trump's the leader of the Epstein class. And so in the UK, their ambassador to the United States is saying to himself, and he said to a bunch of students back in February, an audio from that was released right now, like, wow, what the hell is going on in the United States? So we know all about that.
Here's something most people aren't told about their credit score. It's not just whether you pay your credit cards, it's when you pay them. Yeah, most people don't realize that. I know I didn't. But Smart Credit's data experts understand how credit bureaus operate. So they created something called the best paydown date, built around how credit reporting actually works. So instead of guessing, you get a personalized strategy that shows you what to do and when to do it to help you maximize your score. And that matters because better credit can mean lower payments and more money in your pocket. And this is where it gets interesting. You can see your full credit picture in one place, your score, what's affecting it, and if something needs attention, you can take care of it right there. So before you apply for anything, a car, apartment, refinance, it makes sense to start with Smart Credit. Go to smartcredit.com/Meidas and try it for just $1. You may be surprised to see how many points Smart Credit estimates you can gain. That's smartcredit.com/Meidas. Results vary, cancel anytime.
But thinking about what King Charles was saying about Ukraine, and thinking about what Christian Turner was saying about the U.S. special relationship with Israel and Netanyahu, and that's it. I think about what Europe has done also in the past 24 hours. Did you hear this? Finally, Europe's grown a bit of a backbone when it comes to calling out Israel and condemning Netanyahu. Obviously, we know Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez of Spain has been, and we know, French President Emmanuel Macron has, spoken out against the atrocities in Gaza, the genocide in Gaza and Lebanon. We know Macron has called it out also, but a lot of European leaders really haven't gone all that far. But, you have European leaders now threatening to sanction Israel because Israel is bringing in stolen Ukrainian grain to Haifa. You have Netanyahu working shoulder to shoulder with Vladimir Putin to steal Ukrainian grain and then to ship Ukrainian grain into Israel with a Netanyahu-Putin alliance. Zelensky called it out. Just think about Zelensky. Powerful now, feeling, you know what? UK is a superpower when it comes to its weapons right now and its forces and its ability to fight a modern warfare where Ukraine, thankfully, is calling out Netanyahu and the Trump regime's connections right there, stealing Ukrainian grain, right? Here's what Zelensky posted. In any normal country, purchasing stolen goods is an act that entails legal liability. This applies in particular to grain stolen by Russia. Another vessel carrying such grain has arrived at a port in Israel and is preparing to unload. This is not and cannot be legitimate business. The Israeli authorities cannot be unaware of which ships are arriving at the country's ports and what cargo they are carrying, Zelensky writes. Russia is systematically seizing grain on temporarily occupied Ukrainian land and organizing its exports through individuals linked to the occupiers. Such schemes violate the laws of the state of Israel itself. Ukraine has taken all necessary steps through diplomatic channels to prevent such incidents. However, we see that yet another such vessel has not been stopped. I have instructed the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine to inform all partners of our state about the situation. Based on information from our intelligence services, Ukraine is preparing a relevant sanctions package that will cover both those directly transporting this grain and the individuals and legal entities attempting to profit from this criminal scheme. We will also coordinate with European partners to ensure that relevant individuals are included in European sanctions regime. Ukraine counts on partnerships and mutual respect with every state. We are genuinely working to enhance security, particularly in the Middle East region. We expect that the Israeli authorities will respect Ukraine and refrain from actions that undermine our bilateral relations. Thank you. Calling out Netanyahu, and Zelensky's doing it more powerful right now in that than I've seen lots of other people do it so far. As Dropsite explains, now the European Union listening to Zelensky threatening to sanction Israel over stolen Ukrainian grain. The European Union has warned Israel it's ready to impose sanctions over its role in facilitating trade in Ukrainian grain stolen by Russia after a Panama flag vessel carrying over 25,000 tons of wheat and barley docked at Haifa. Euronews reports. Other updates as well that I think are worth noting. The United Arab Emirates quitting OPEC, dealing a major blow to the Saudi-led OPEC cartel. The United Arab Emirates announced on Tuesday it's withdrawing from OPEC. What the UAE minister writes, the UAE's decision to exit from OPEC reflects a policy-driven evolution aligned with long-term market fundamentals. We thank OPEC and its member countries for decades of constructive cooperation. We remain committed to energy security, providing reliable, responsible, and low-carbon supply while supporting stable global markets. And they're utilizing this time while the Strait of Hormuz is closed to get out of OPEC. And you just see massive instability throughout the world right now. And I remember during the Obama administration when every time Kim Jong-un would do a missile test, it would be a front page story because Republicans would try to attack Obama and say, look how weak you are. You're letting Kim Jong-un do missile tests, whether they're ballistic or cruise missiles. That's so weak. You have to do more, Obama. Remember that? Well, under Donald Trump, Kim Jong-un was allowed to get nuclear weapons. Donald Trump visited North Korea. Remember, he talked about the love letters with Kim Jong-un. Yes, Donald Trump got totally played. Kim Jong-un has nuclear weapons, and every single day, Kim Jong-un is out there bragging about the relationship with Russia, like he just gave a speech yesterday praising North Korean soldiers who died by suicide when they were captured fighting alongside the Russians against Ukraine. Every day he's out there bragging about his nuclear weapons, bragging about the ballistic missile and cruise missile tests that he's doing. And with all of these developments going on as well, we now learn that the acting U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, who was put in that position by the Trump regime, Julie Davis, she's a career person, to be fair, but she was put in this position after the last person was forced out by the Trump regime. And Julie Davis is expected to step down soon as the ambassador to Ukraine after Donald Trump's consistent attacks on Ukraine, Donald Trump inviting Putin to the G20. And as I mentioned, with all of this going on, one of the big moves that Donald Trump is doing now, or I should say, is not doing, is the following. Donald Trump is instructing his aides to prepare for an extended blockade of Iran to what Donald Trump says will compel nuclear capitulation. Trump says that he doesn't want to go to war again. And he doesn't want to make a deal with Iran. So he's just going to keep an indefinite naval blockade and just see what happens. Keep oil prices $106, $110 a barrel. Just keep an indefinite naval blockade. And this is what Trump does. This is what I predicted from the outset, right? Now we're in May, right? And we started this thing. Trump started this invasion with Netanyahu back in late February. Here we are in May, just like COVID, like a miracle. It's all going to go away. Just going to keep the naval blockade, wait for catastrophe to strike. And what he's waiting for is who's he going to blame? Who's he going to blame for all of this? And, he's a weak, pathetic individual. And we see the world saying, bye-bye, Don. See you later. See you later. Don't you see it happening before your very eyes? Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.